Hey guys, it's JR. Welcome to 2.0. I'm so happy you can join us for another episode. Before we go any further, take a moment and hit the like and subscribe button if you have not had the opportunity to subscribe yet. And if you are one of our subscribers who are returning, we just want to thank you for your support and for your love for this show. We appreciate it. So tonight we are excited to have one of the greatest guests on the show. He is a good friend of a good friend of mine, so I am happy to have him on the show. So his story is very fascinating, so I'm happy that you get to hear his testimony and you get to hear his story. So it's a pleasure for me to introduce my dear friend, Eddie. Eddie, welcome to the show, man. Welcome to 2.0.
Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure. Thank you for being here. How are you feeling today?
I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'm
Now, have you
excited.
done anything like this before?
Except for interviews or job.
And you? Well, I mean, this is not a job, but I guess it's along the same. So, one of the reasons why I wanted you to be part of the show is because of your story. Your story is very fascinating, and we wanted to start with your background. Now, I know, I don't know if you were born in church or was there a point that you actually got saved during your teenage year or something like that.
Actually, I was born in church, but I answered the altar call,
Mm-hmm.
and they pray for me. And since that time, I've been in church and never left.
Nice, nice. Now, if I understand correctly, you've been very active in the Haitian community, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you've been serving in churches, I guess, from the time that you were, you were a teenager per se.
Yeah. As far as I can remember, I was in youth ministry at the age of 14, 15, very active.
Okay.
By the time I was probably 16 years old, I started a choir in church.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Nice.
because I started studying music and then I formed a choir. And later on, around 20, I had a band in my country,
Oh, nice.
Haiti. The name was Christophil.
Crystal
It
Field.
was like a young boys' band, very popular at the time.
Okay.
And actually, we reunited last year, 2 years ago,
Oh, yeah.
and we start playing again once a year or twice a year
Okay.
here in the United States. And when I came to America, I landed in Stanford,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really active in the Stanford Church. It's
Gotcha.
an Haitian Baptist church.
Mm-hmm.
My background has been in the Baptist church all of my life.
Right.
But over the past 20 years, I've been attending Assembly of God Church, which is more Pentecostal.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And like, what year did you come from Haiti?
1986.
96.
It's
Okay.
been a long time.
Nice, nice. And you've been in Stanford ever since.
In Stanford ever since.
Okay. So now you were a youth leader, you started a choir, and you also created a band. So which instrument do you play?
I play bass.
You play bass. Oh, nice. Yeah. I mess around with the bass myself. So it's one of my favorite instruments actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So other than being a youth leader, did you fulfill any other positions in the church?
Actually, in my church in Haiti, when you become a youth leader,
Mhm.
they will give you the pulpit to preach.
Okay.
So I used to preach on the fourth Sunday of the month,
Mm-hmm.
a day dedicated for the
For the youth. Okay.
So when I came here, I went to a church,
Right.
and the pastor was related to me by marriage.
Okay.
So I was behind the pulpit also,
Mm-hmm.
and I was pretty active on schedule.
Right.
At least every 2 months, I was behind the pulpit preaching the gospel.
Nice.
And I've been serious about my salvation and my faith since I was younger.
Okay.
And up to this day, it's the same.
Nice.
It's not a game. It's not a joke for me. It's very
Nice.
serious.
Okay. So at one point you were preaching in the church, and then did you not necessarily climb up the ladder per se, but did you fulfill any other positions? Did you become a deacon or any associate pastor or anything like that?
No, I could have become a deacon because of my involvement in all sectors.
Mm-hmm.
Youth program, choir, band, preaching. Actually, there were some other, how to call them, satellite church of the church.
Yeah.
They used to send me to preach in those satellite churches.
Nice.
But very young, at a very young age, I got married.
Okay.
I was 27.
Nice.
I got married. There were two kids issued of that marriage,
Nice.
and very early get divorced too. So in my 30s.
Yeah.
So because of that, I knew
Mm-hmm.
from the tradition of the church I was attending,
Yeah.
there would not be any consideration for being a deacon, being a pastor, all
Right.
of these things.
Right.
They're squashed.
Gotcha. Wow. Okay, so you got married at 27.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing because it was 27 is not necessarily common late, but it's it's not 21 or 22.
Yeah. For that
So
time.
yeah, so was it actually planned or was it something? There was an incident that happened and you felt
No, it
like
was planned.
It was planned.
It was planned. Actually, we started dating in Haiti,
Okay.
and then my first wife went to Canada on a scholarship, and I
Nice.
came to the United States
Okay.
with my green card.
Mm-hmm.
So, those times we were in love. I cannot live without you. You have to join me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she joined me here and we got married.
Okay.
And that's that.
Got you. So you got two kids out of the marriage.
Two kids.
Okay, a boy and a girl, or
A girl and then a boy.
okay, got it. And how long did the marriage last?
The marriage lasted 8 years.
8 years.
8 years. I remember my son was 2 years old, who was the youngest.
Mm.
And my daughter was about 7 years old.
Okay. Wow. So the kids were really young.
Very young.
Yeah.
Very young. But I thank God I put a lot of work in it,
Mm-hmm.
and our relationship is pretty tight up to this day.
Nice. Nice.
So it's a lot of work when you become a father at a young age and you are a Christian,
Yeah.
and it's a big loss.
Absolutely.
It's a big loss. Your life changes. You don't have your children with you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know if you're about to ask me that question. I'm going too fast, maybe.
No. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's good.
So at that point, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And because my ex-wife moved out of state with my kids and went to Georgia.
Okay.
So now I'm living in Connecticut.
Oof.
And at that point, it was very early. I mean, coming from Haiti, I had a degree in engineering already.
Okay.
So I came here, I went back to school,
Yeah.
working on my education in the United States.
Yeah.
And not enough money
Mm-hmm.
as a husband,
Yeah.
father. I was doing everything I could
Right.
to support my family,
Mm-hmm.
to go to school. And at one point, I was taking 14 credits,
Wow.
working full
Full
time.
time. Yeah. That's not easy to do. That is not easy to do.
So
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Yeah. Wow. So the marriage lasted 8 years and the kids were, super young. And given your background of how involved you were in church, what was that process like having to go through a divorce and being someone in your position in the church?
It's pretty hard, depressing. It's like when you grew up in church and your view of life,
Mm-hmm.
your worldview
Yeah.
is centered around the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
You never see yourself divorced.
Right.
It was not planned.
Yeah.
And your future was in church.
Yeah.
And the church was very conservative.
Absolutely.
So being divorced, you become ostracized.
Mm-hmm.
You can no longer be the person you used to be. You cannot be anymore.
Yeah.
The model that people used to see in you.
Yeah.
And it was hurtful. It was hurtful, I should
Mm-hmm.
say. Hurtful and depressing. And I had to reinvent myself.
Yeah.
Start learning how to see myself differently and focus on other things.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine because you got saved ever since you were 9 years old, right?
Yes.
So from 9 years old, I mean, even before that, you were born in church. You were born and raised in
Yeah, I
church.
was in
So
church, yeah.
the church life is all you know, right?
That's
It's
all
all
you
you
know.
know from birth, right? So now you've been involved, you were a youth leader, choir director, creative band, and so on and so forth. So you were deeply submerged in the church life.
Yeah.
And now when the divorce happened, it's almost like it was, it was cut through.
Yeah.
And now you were, cast to the side and you were not, as like you said, you had to redefine yourself and rediscover yourself, because there were certain things that you were not allowed to do in the church anymore. So now, giving that, what was the mental impact?
I cannot assess it because it was never assessed.
Mm.
All I know is during that period where I just get separated
Yeah.
and then going through the divorce process.
Right.
So I started focusing more on my music ministry.
Okay.
Created a choir.
Mm-hmm.
It was a young adult choir. And within 3 to 6 months, I find out this is me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not accusing anybody.
Right.
I feel that I was out of place because as a young guy,
Yeah.
34 years, 35 years of age,
Right.
I cannot be in charge of young ladies.
Yeah.
I was avoiding every criticism.
Yeah.
I chose not to give anybody reason
The opportunity. Yeah.
no opportunity to say anything about me.
Mm-hmm.
So I passed the choir to somebody else. I moved to younger kids.
Okay.
And I call it the junior choir for kids from middle school to high school age.
Right.
So that's what I did after that. I focused on music, and then it was very useful to the church.
Mm-hmm.
But I was always dissatisfied. I feel that I was not working to my full potential as far as church is concerned.
Yeah.
So later on, my divorce was final.
Okay.
My kids were not around.
Mm-hmm.
I must admit that I was very, how do you say that? Very bitter toward any romantic life.
Wow.
I didn't even take a chance. I didn't have enough money in my pocket.
Right.
Now, the money that was not sufficient when we were raising two kids.
Yeah.
Now I was by myself, supporting the two kids. So, I had to be very resourceful, creative. I worked 2 jobs. I can remember one day, I didn't date anybody. I could not date anybody because I wouldn't say I'm a prideful guy, but I respect myself.
Of course.
I don't have money in my pocket. I'm not
You're not gonna try to do anything. Yeah.
I'm not trying to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but at one point, I walked to my lawyer for the divorce lawyer.
Right.
I said, "Well, I have no money to pay you."
Wow.
I said, "I've been trying to pay you for a month." I think this is the first time some people would hear that from me. I never share that with friends.
Yeah.
I just walk to his office. I say, "Well, I've been paying you month to month."
Yeah.
I pull a check from my main job. I was already a teacher by that point.
Okay.
I was living on the teacher's salary by that point.
Right.
I take my teacher's salary. I had a second job in the afternoon. I was working from 7 in the morning, leaving my house. After school has ended, I went to an after school program.
Wow.
So that I can get some extra money to
Yeah.
support myself. I show him the 2 stubs. I say, "Okay, that's how much it is."
Yeah.
After I pay my child support and I pay you, that's how much is left.
Right.
I cannot even disclose it now.
Wow.
I said, "I would like to pay you, but show me where it's going to come out, because I have to put my clothes in at the dry cleaner.
Yeah.
I need a car. I need to pay my insurance. Blah 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 blah." I said, "Show me what is left to pay."
Right.
He looked at me and said, I don't know what to tell you. I said, I don't know what to tell you neither.
So it was, yeah, it was a tough situation. I can imagine, and that's the thing, that it comes with the divorce, right? It's the financial impact
Yeah.
that it has on mostly men, right? Because we do have responsibilities we have to fulfill. We have financial responsibilities that is placed upon us, right?
Yeah.
Because now your ex-wife moved to Georgia with the kids,
Yeah.
and you still have the responsibility to provide for them. And here you are, you're struggling, you're a teacher, and you're working, two jobs, but
Yeah.
you still cannot make ends meet because you're not able to pay the attorney. So it's some of these things that people don't actually think of, the impact that it has on men, and especially as a man, to find yourself in a position where you're struggling to provide for your own kids.
Yeah.
That can be very detrimental. Like you said, you dealt with depression. Is that part of it?
No, I am. I can praise my God. I was
Mhm.
well made solid.
Okay.
I never felt that I was depressed,
Mm-hmm.
but I was borderline.
Borderline depressed.
I was
Yeah.
borderline, and then I'm not prescribing anybody, although it is good.
Right.
Most people you need, and I'm suggesting to people to go to counseling and all of these
Yeah.
things. I never went.
So you never went to counseling?
I had a life of prayer, solid life of prayer.
Okay.
I put myself on my knees, and I have a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I used to play at home. I used to pray a lot.
Okay.
I came borderline. I had some sleepless night,
Mm-hmm.
and I would wake up in the middle of the night and spend my time praying.
You were living a life of prayer, and you felt that prayer is, really helped you out. So that's why you didn't seek professional counseling. But did you have any like close friends that you talked to, like any pastor friends that you talked to that you felt like even with counseling, but those conversations actually helped?
No, I didn't have any pastor friend I was having conversation with, but I surrounded myself with the young people
Mm-hmm.
I used to direct right after I get separated before my divorce in my youth ministry. These were my support system without knowing it.
Yeah.
It's like God sent them on our way. It's like they became my kids. On weekends, they would be with me.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, I had a Bible study with them.
Nice.
And the Bible study was supposed to last about 1 hour and a half
Mm-hmm.
on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But because they were so comfortable with me, the older one, who were free, who could come home later,
Yeah.
they would stay asking me questions, debating, because I used to do the presentation for half an hour to 45 minutes.
Right.
And after we opened the conversation, biblical questions.
Right.
It used to be my life, and they would come back on weekends, invited me to go to the movies with them.
Gotcha.
My door would be knocked. They trusted me somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think because the way I used to behave, the way I portray myself.
Mm-hmm.
On Friday night,
Yeah.
it would be 10 o'clock, and then one of them, the older one, knock on my door, Brother Edward, let's go to the movies.
That's nice.
It was nice. This
Yeah.
was my comfort zone right there.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you were well admired by by those by the group of people, the young adults, or the people that you were involved with in the church. So I can't imagine the story of divorce would be something that they would easily digest. So what was the atmosphere like? What was the environment like when you had to, I guess, disclose that you were going through a separation or going through a divorce?
Actually, I was pretty popular in the church.
Yeah.
It was an explosion. It was news.
Right.
I couldn't hide anything
Mm-hmm.
because I was pretty visible in the church.
Right.
At that point, I was playing the organ for the church. Back in the days, it was organ.
Yeah, you were a musician, you
Yeah.
were a preacher, yeah, you're a choir director.
I was visible. I couldn't hide anything. Where is your wife?
Right,
Everybody
yeah.
would know. And they saw that I was by myself. And even though it was nerve-wracking to walk and go on stage to play the keyboard or to play the organ, I had to be bold to do it because I know what was being said about me.
Right.
And in our community, the Haitian community, for example, people would say anything they want to you. They don't feel there's no boundary. There is no PC, political correctness.
Right.
I can remember one day a brother came to me and said, "Brother Edward, I trust you. I know you're a good Christian. God says something about forgiveness. I think you should forgive your wife. Just after church service, just like that." And I said, "I do. I mean, if you do, I should see her here."
Yeah.
And the conversation keeps on going, and then you have to be very polite to move away from the conversation and go and talk to somebody else. So this is the kind of pressure you're undergoing every day.
Right.
And at one point, I couldn't take it anymore. And I had to switch churches because my stature of divorcee, it was incompatible with the culture, the subculture of that church.
Right.
So I had to go somewhere else. And a lot of people didn't understand why I left. I had to get my peace of mind.
Yeah, and I can understand that. That was a devastating thing to do, right? Because you literally have been in that church ever since you landed in this country in '85. So you pretty much got your footing in that church. So now you find yourself in a situation where you have to leave because of what the environment was becoming for you, right? So I can imagine this would be something that was easy on you, mentally and emotionally.
It was, because now you are uprooted from where you belong.
Right.
This is your community, and anybody who is ethnic, you understand. Your ethnic group, you feel more comfortable to do anything in it. You find more love, more acceptance.
Of course.
And now you don't have that acceptance anymore.
Right.
And you're gonna go to another community, you don't know what it's gonna be, how they're gonna take you. So it was pretty hard mentally, and I don't know, any other way you can consider.
Right.
But I was blessed with some talent. So I went to another church with my talent. So I was simply a musician in the other one. I was not a preacher. Nobody knew about my background.
Right.
So I was very comfortable in that church. Nobody was asking me questions.
Yeah.
I play my music, go home.
So did you have to deal with like any shame or guilt, like every Sunday when you walk into church, and like you said, people are talking about you, people are saying things about you. Did you ever have like that kind of feeling, saying like, man, I don't want to go to church today. I just don't want to be there today.
I was always in church. For me, it's spiritual. It's mental and psychological. Since I was born, I'm always in church.
Yeah.
Going to church with me, it's a habit too.
Yeah.
I do it. That's my habit. I wake up on a Sunday morning. I take my shower. I go to church.
Right.
But I'm a little bit, I wouldn't say conceited or stubborn. When people are acting up on things that I feel that they don't understand, I fly above.
Okay.
I tend to see you as, it's hard what I'm gonna say. I have to measure my words.
No, that's fine. No. Talk about it. Yeah.
I take the upper road.
Yeah.
I fly higher than you. I put you at that level of thinking, and I'm over here. So that's what kept me going. I feel that, do you understand what you're talking about?
Yeah.
That verse you are quoting, do you understand it?
Yeah, so you felt like there was a lack of understanding, like with some biblical passages that they were referring.
There are, even though up to now there are churches who, if you are divorced, you are ostracized up now.
Yeah.
Up now, and it's still something in the church. And even, I would say most churches.
Yeah.
You are divorced, you have a tag on you.
Gotcha. There's a series that I'm working on, so I actually want to invite you to come back on the show where we talk about it into greater details. But for now, I want to talk about the impact of of fatherhood, right? So you being a father in the house with the two kids, and now all of a sudden the divorce happened, and she didn't just move out of the house; she moved out of state.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you, not being able to see the kids on a regular basis?
That was the worst in my life.
Hmm. So how often were you seeing the kids, and if you were you seeing them at all?
Even right now, I say it with emotion. This is the biggest hurt in my life. And I'm going to explain to you why.
Hmm.
People who know me close to me, they know what I'm going to say. I grew up without a father. My mom took care of 4 kids.
Hmm.
Since I was a young guy, it was always my goal to be a father for my kids when I get married. To be able to sit at dinner table,
Mm-hmm.
being a father.
Hmm.
Being there to guide my son.
Hmm.
I had a chance to teach my daughter how to ride a bike.
Hmm.
I didn't have the chance to do it for my son. My son was only 2 years old when they left. Even today, it's hurtful.
Hmm.
By the grace of God, I got a good relationship with my kids.
Praise God. Praise God.
I just got back from vacation with them.
Hmm.
At this age, they're in their 30s right now. Next week, tomorrow, I'm going to be with my daughter in church.
Hmm.
She lives in New York, and I'm going to take her to church just to be with her in church. And next month will be her birthday. My son is going to travel all the way from Florida to be with me, and this is sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is the impact it had on me. You see, I'm still hurt with this not being there for my kids.
Yeah.
I was there with them on the phone, joking with them. Sometimes they say, Papi, don't worry about it because blah, blah, blah. But I know what it could have been.
Yeah.
I'm a musician. I wanted my son, my daughter to be singing with me.
Right. Right.
Being behind the piano or the guitar. You know, I wanted to play with my son.
Yeah. You had a vision.
I had a vision.
Yeah.
I can show it. Maybe I'll show you the picture one day. My daughter was 4 years old,
Mm-hmm.
singing with a full band behind her.
Wow. Wow.
And then I get the divorce. She was only 6, 7.
Yeah.
It never happened again. It's only now that my son has resumed. My son surprised me. She goes to a big church, a mega church in Miami, and I saw her on stage doing praise and worship. I go like, what? You know, this is sweet.
Yeah.
It's sweet to see that. I wanted to be the one leading him
Yeah.
to that.
No.
Being there to do to the football game.
Right.
He used to wrestle. I wanted to be there. I never get that chance one day in my life.
Yeah. You know, I'm super happy to hear of the relationship you have with the kids now. However, what most people don't understand is there are certain things that you missed from the kids' life. Never ever be replaced.
Never be replaced. Never be replaced.
I mean, you know, just to sit here and to hear you talk about them like that, and you were getting emotional because, like you said, you know, you had this vision and this idea in your head of what the family should be, of what what you wanted for your fatherhood, right? Because, like you said, you grew up without a father, and I'm sure you had a list of things that you had in your mind, and you said, you know what? I didn't do this with my father. I'm going to make sure I do it with my kids.
Yes.
I didn't enjoy this with my dad. I'm going to make sure I do it for my kids, and so on and so forth. And the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
Right. So you were looking for that opportunity to fulfill and to accomplish all of that. And that for that opportunity to have been taken away. I mean, I don't know what the downfall of the relationship is, but anyways, for that to no longer exist.
Yeah.
It's hurtful. And again, it's not just that the person moved down the block or move, to the next town. They move out of state.
Out of state, man.
Which is like a 3-hour plane flight in order for you to see the kids. So it's I can understand. I mean, from one father to another, I can understand. And to be honest, with my divorce, that was one of the hardest things for me to process.
Yeah.
Luckily, we only live 15, 20 minutes away, and I get him every other week, but still, not being able to be in the same house with him 24/7.
I wanted to be there helping with the homework.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you imagine? I teach mathematics in America.
Right.
And I was never there to help my son do his homework.
Right.
I don't care about English, social studies, all of these things. I know I would have been there to help him to be a great math student.
Right.
Not for my son, not for my daughter.
Mm. Mm.
Even the decision to go to college is on the phone.
Yeah.
Papi, I'm gonna do this, Papi, I'm gonna do that. And when you're on the phone with your son, you don't live in the same house with him or your daughter. You don't live in the you have to be very careful what you say.
Yeah.
You don't want to hurt them, you
Of
don't want to be
course.
too bossy.
Of course.
Because you're a daddy.
Yeah.
But you are not in my life really. I know you love me, but it's not what it should have been.
Yeah.
And I tell them that all the time. I keep on reminding them.
Yeah.
We have a good relationship, but that was not my dream.
Yeah, I know.
My dream, I wanted to be there with you and for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't have that. I wanted to have this for my children.
Yeah. But you know what? Through it all, I have to commend you, for being able to restore that relationship or to mend that relationship. Because, again, the kids were young, so there's a lot of things that could have happened. Their mind could have been poisoned, as far as you as a person or as a father or as a husband and so on and so forth. But the fact that you were able to work through that and now you have a great relationship with them, it shows how much of a good father you've been.
And one thing I always used to respect, and I would say to anybody who is listening, who is divorced, father or mother, if you ever find yourself in this situation, when you're with your child, it's not the time to be talking about their mom.
Right. Yeah.
Not the time to be talking about their dad. I used to keep that between me and her. When I'm with them, it's us playing game.
Yeah.
The jokes.
Yeah.
And then now they tell me that I'm like Jesus because anything I want to tell them, I give them a story, which is true. Which is true.
Yeah.
Because anything I want to say, I give them a story.
You got to use the parable.
The parable,
Jesus,
the story of somebody in Hollywood who's doing well. That's how it be. I'm not going to name anybody now. I say, you see, he's famous, but and then they get the lesson. That's the way I used to teach all the time.
Nice.
All the time. I made it my goal. If I'm on the phone for an hour, there will be 15 minutes of teaching.
Nice.
Moral things and then the gospel, things like this.
That's awesome, man. Because
it's hard to do.
It is. How old are the kids now?
One is 32.
32. Okay.
The other one is 36.
36.
I'm not going to tell you who.
Okay. Are they married?
No.
No, not
They're
yet.
not married.
Okay.
I'm praying for them that God can decide. It's the will of God.
Do they talk to you about relationships and marriage? Do they are there any fear because of the divorce that you went because of your history with their mom?
I think so. I mean, because I'm a male, I'm the father. It's very hard to engage in that conversation with my daughter.
Yeah.
About the detail about it. I don't get into any detail because you don't want to put pressure on your daughter.
Of course.
You don't want to say, are you married? Do you have a boyfriend? Are you dating? You don't want to say these things. You don't want to push it too much. My son, I'm more open and joking about it. Like on a Friday, I would say, man, it's 9 o'clock. You're still talking to me? Come on.
there's no people we want to talk to.
It's 9 o'clock. Bobby, why are we saying this?
Yeah.
I try to see if there's somebody in the background.
Yeah.
But I'm praying. I'm praying because these things, you cannot push people into them.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, sometimes your past relationship had an effect onto their thought process.
I think so. You cannot be living this without an impact. For example, the reason I'm so serious about my relationship with my kids is because of me. I know.
Well, guys, I hope you are enjoying the interview with Eddie. And as I said, his story is fascinating, and I hope that you guys can learn something from him. And don't forget, as I always say, if you find yourself to be in a position where you are going through a divorce, we just want you to know you're not alone. And feel free to talk to someone. There's no shame in reaching out to someone. There's no shame in talking to someone because we all need someone. We all need a support system. So feel free to find yourself someone that you can talk to. If you don't have anybody to talk to, I always say, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you. And again, guys, thank you for watching. It's always a pleasure to be on your screen. I appreciate the support. And always remind yourself, it's a minor setback. And don't forget, live every day as if it is your last day, because one day it will be. I'm JR, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.